Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's second video for the week ahead forecast, which you can find on the home page. The written version is on the written page. This video is going to have a look at September. We're going to do a September month ahead forecast for this update. A little bit earlier than normal. Normally I wouldn't do this till the first couple of days of the month, but I'm going to be away a few days next week, so I'm getting in a bit early. Excuse me, with this particular update. Let's have a quick review on August to see what happened there, and although it's not quite over yet actually, and at the end of the video I have a sneak peek for October as well. But very good with that, just want to very quick say about as this links to articles and all pages at the gas service. Go have browse widgets, any articles that you're interested in, you click through. Thanks so much for doing that. There's also video ads on most pages. They open out in the content, and when you've watched them they'll close back up again. Thanks so much for getting involved, and thanks for doing that. So the August month ahead forecast predicted temperatures to be coming out near normal, maybe somewhere a little bit above or a little bit below, but overall no great deviation with the temperatures. For rainfall, we said we're probably going to have near normal rainfall in the south and probably above average rainfall again up in the north. I think overall the forecast hasn't been too bad, certainly in terms of the temperatures, not been too bad. It's been quite a cool month in the north, down across England and Wales, coming out very close to average. In terms of rainfall, well, there's been a lot of variation, regional variation. The south has probably been a bit wetter over the past week or so than the north. But overall, not a desperately wet month, not a washout. Have had wetter August, and temperature's probably not too bad in terms of the forecast. This is Central England temperature so far for August. This is provisional, just up to the 28, so there's still a couple of days to go. It's standing at 16.2, an anomaly of 0.3 above average, so I think we'll be very, very close to average once the final number comes in. So the forecast certainly been okay for the Central England region, probably been a bit cooler than that though up in the north. But overall, I don't think the forecast for August has performed too badly. Let's see what's going on for September then, and this is the 700 millibar height anomaly chart for September from the CFS V2. We're going to look at CFS V2 first, and then we'll go on to the Beijing Climate Centre. So what we see for the CFS is that we've got a ridge of high pressure sitting out to the west of the country, and what's going on there is that the flow would be going rather like that, so it's a pretty chilly signal for September, but with high pressure quite close, probably a fair amount of dry weather, but you wouldn't be expecting a heat wave by any means on that sort of scenario. I think that's a pretty good representation of what we've got, what we've got coming up next week actually. Of course that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to last throughout the whole of the month though. So the temperature anomaly for September is looking cooler than average. Looks like a cooler than average month being predicted here by the CFS V2. You'd expect that because we've got a ridge out to the west, so the jet stream is going like that and bring cool air down from a northerly or northwesterly direction. We know the Atlantic is pretty cold as well at the moment. Certainly it's coldest really since probably the early 1990s in the northern Atlantic Ocean. So with the air coming from a northerly northwesterly source and cold ocean temperatures, we can expect a cooler than average month if this comes off. The compensatory factor is that we're also going to drier than average month from the CFS V2. So in those orange colours there, indicating a pretty dry month, the Atlantic being sort of blocked by that ridge sitting out to the west. So cool and dry, basically the signal for September from CFS V2. Let's see what the Beijing Climate Centre is showing. These are 500 millibar heights, but they're broken down into 10-day periods with this one. So what we see for the 10-day period from the 1st to the 10th is that we've got a ridge above average heights sitting around and to the east and the northeast of the country, with a trough of low pressure out in the Atlantic. Means that the jet stream will go a bit like that. I'm not sure about that really. I think that ridge should be centred more towards the central part of the Atlantic where the CFS is placing it. This does imply quite a lot of settled weather for the first 10 days of September. But I think it's probably got the positioning of that ridge a little bit wrong there, and I would put that further west, really, with probably a trough actually down over Scandinavia. Let's see what the next 10 days shows. It's a very similar looking chart from the 11th through to the 20th. Again, the ridge is up to the northeast and particularly centred over Scandinavia now, with troughs of low pressure in the Atlantic. Again, the jet stream will go a bit like that, and the flow, of course, will be coming around that ridge from an easterly type direction. In theory, that could be quite warm, because you don't know what temperatures you've got on the continent. Easterly winds in September can drag in a fair amount of warm weather, but they can also drag in quite cool air, actually, if there's no supply of warmth on the continent, and can be particularly evident at night with fairly cool minimum temperatures. But I'm just not sure about that. I think the placement of that ridge should be more towards the Atlantic rather than Scandinavia. Now we go through to the final 10 days of the month, and then quite a big change taking place, with a deep trough of low pressure starting to set up in the middle part of the Atlantic. So the jet stream coming back there is turning much more unsettled. The ridge is being broken down, and westerlies, southwesterlies coming back, bringing bands of rain in. Very big change around for the final 10 days of the month. The actual temperature anomaly for September is coming out cooler than average. So again, very much in line with the CFS V2, although they differ about how this comes about with the placement of the ridge, but nevertheless, both models seem cooler than average temperature anomalies for September. And in terms of the rainfall anomaly, it's looking a bit drier than average, near normal to a little bit drier than average is the signal. Again, very much in line with CFS V2. So they differ on the pattern that's going to bring these anomalies about, but they're both sort of in agreement with the temperature and precipitation forecast for September. And I think that's where we're going to go, really, with this update. I think we'll have quite a cool September. We're certainly going to start off very cool next week. I think we're going to have a cooler than average September, which is quite unusual. I'm taking a bit of a risk, actually, doing this, because out of all of the months throughout the year, September is probably the one that has warmed the most over the past 20 years. It really is now very much regarded as an extension of summer as opposed to an autumnal month, which it was when I was a kid. September was definitely regarded as an autumnal month, but you regard it now more as a summer month. So I'm taking a bit of a risk by doing this and going with these models, but I think we're going to have a cooler than average September, maybe by as much as around a degree. I would suspect the rainfall is going to come out a bit drier than average, really, with a fair amount of anticyclonic influences. But what I would say is that I am expecting a fairly big change in the second half of the month to a more unsettled spell, and that could bring some quite heavy bouts of rain in. So in the end, the rainfall anomaly could come out near normal, despite the fact that, say, the first 15-20 days has quite a lot of dry weather. So we'll evaluate to see how it goes, of course, once we get through to next month. Finally, have a quick sneak peek at October, and we do see the Atlantic coming back here, breaking through on the CFS V2, below average heights in the Atlantic, the jet stream running through the country like that, so it turns a good deal more unsettled. Bouts of rain, strong winds, that kind of thing. Proper autumnal looking anomaly. Therefore, October, we will worry about October when we get to it. So finally, in summary, having a quick summary of September, I'm expecting a cooler than average month by as much of the degree below average, and rainfall probably a bit drier than average, but I do think we'll have a pretty wet sort of latter stage of the month. We'll see how it goes, and that's all for now. Thanks for watching.